guys, today we are going to review the movie Jumanji that came in 1995. Let's do its full movie review and analysis. So Jumanji 1995 is not just an adventurous fantasy film. It's a story about time, fear, responsibility and second chances all wrapped inside a magical board game that punishes hesitations and rewards courage. At its surface, the film looked like a family adventure. Beneath that, it is about what happens when childhood fears are never resolved, and how facing them later can reshape an entire life. If we talk about story overview without skipping depth, the story begins in 1869 where two boys bury a mysterious chest in fear. This immediately sets the tone. Jumanji is something meant to be escaped, not understood. Decades later, in 1969, young Alan Parrish discovers the board game with his friend Sarah Whittle. From the moment the dice roll, the game proves it doesn't follow human rules. Jungle noises, unseen threats, and cryptic chimes warn the players that this is not a game of fun, it's a trial. When Alan rolls the dice, he is pulled into the game, disappearing completely. Time moves forward without him, leaving Sarah traumatized and blamed for what no one else saw. If we talk about the weight of time and loss, one of the film's strongest elements is how it handles time. Alan is trapped inside Jumanji for 26 years. Yet when he emerges, the world has aged without him. His parents are gone, his childhood home is abandoned, his entire life has been erased, while he stayed the same age. This is not played for the spectacles, it's played for quiet tragedy. The film shows how unresolved childhood fear can reach a person emotionally just as Ellen was frozen physically. If we talk about the new players and generational contrast, the game re-emerges in the 1990s found by siblings Judy and Peter Shepherd. Unlike Ellen and Sarah, the children approach Jumanji with curiosity rather than fear. This contrast highlights how children accept chaos faster. Adults carry deepest emotional scars. As the game resumes, jungle justice spill into the world. Giant mosquitoes, stampeding animals, carnivores, plants, all visual sounds representing uncontrolled consequences. If we talk about Alan Parrish's transformation, Alan's journey is not about escaping the game. When he returns as an adult, he is still emotionally stuck as boy. His arc is about facing responsibility, confronting guilt, accepting courage instead of avoidance. He must return to the game not for survival but for closure for himself and for Sarah. And if we talk about Sarah Winter and trauma, If we talk about Sarah Winter and trauma, Sarah is one of the most underrated characters in the film. She is level unstable because no one believes her story. Her fear is not of the one itself, but of being disbelieved. When she returns to the game years later, it forces her to confront the trauma she spent decades suppressing. Her strength lies in choosing to play the game, knowing exactly how dangerous it is. If we talk about the game as a character, Jumanji is not a passive object. It speaks in readers, punishes, creates, forces confrontation, demands completion. If you talk, then the only way to end itself is not to quit, but to finish the game. This makes Jumanji a metaphor for unresolved life changes, ignored problems grow more destructive over time. If we talk about the hunter Van Pelt. Van Pelt represents relentless consequences. He is not a willful pleaser, he is the embodiment of the game's rules. He exists to ensure that escape is never easy. His constant pursuit reflects Alan's inability to outrun fear or responsibility. And if we talk about ending and resolution, with the game is finally completed, time reset, Alan and Sarah return to childhood, no, not ignorance. They now possess awareness, allowing them to change outcome. Alan reconciles with his parents. Alan reconciles with his parents. Sarah avoids future trauma. The Shepherd's children are never orphaned. This ending is powerful because it suggests that facing fear early can reshape the future. If we talk about themes that give the film depth, first fear versus courage, the game rewards bravery and punishes versus hesitation. And if it cover responsibility, every dice tool has consequences. And third time, lost time is the film quite tragedy. And if we talk about healing, trauma does not disappear, it must be confronted. And if we talk about some facts about Jumanji 1995, The film is based on the 1981 children's book by Chris Van Elseworth, directed by Joy Johnson. Robin Williams' performance balances comedy with deep emotional weight. Most jungle effects were created using CGI mixed with practical effects. The word Jumanji implied to mean many effects or jungle. The film becomes a cult classic due to its rewatch value and emotional depth. Unlike last entries, the 1995 treats the game age danger first, adventure second. And if we talk about why Jumanji still works today, the film doesn't rely on fast pacing alone, it works because fear feels real, consequences are fair, permanent, characters are emotional, grounded, it respect to it respect its audience, even children, by showing that fun and fear can coexist. And if we talk about final thought, Jumanji 1995 is ultimately about this idea. You can't pause life's challenge, you must face them or they will make crime stronger. That message is why the film still resonates decades later. If we talk about more, then yes. If we talk about Jumanji as a test of character, not luck. Although dice rolls appears random, the game never feels truly dependent on chances. Each challenge arrives at moments of emotional weakness. Alan when he feels powerless. Sarah when she is afraid to be believed. Peter when he cheats, Judy when she hesitates. The game exposes character flaws rather than creating danger randomly. It acts more like a mirror than a chip. If we talk about childhood fear freezes time, Alan's greatest punishment is not being trapped in the jungle, it is being trapped in fear while the world moves forward. Alan remains emotionally frozen at the age he entered the game. His adult body carries the child unresolved fear. This makes his return disorienting and painful. because maturity has been forced onto him without experience. The film quietly suggests that unresolved childhood trauma can steal decades of a person's life. The town, if we talk about the town as a reflection of Allen's absence, and Brentford changes after Allen disappears, the shoe factory closes, the parish mansion decays, the town loses its sense of identity. This is not coincidence. Allen's disappearance represents a break and continue his return coincide with Charles because the past is demanding resolution. If we talk about the if we talk about the animals represent loss of control. Every animal released from the game behaves according to instinct. They stampede, hunt, destroy. The mirrors what happens when humans suppress fear and responsibility. Emotions behave the same way when ignored. The jungle is not invading the town. The past is reclaiming space. If we talk about Peter's transformation, it's a warning. Peter cheats during his turn and is punished by slowly transforming into a monkey. This is one of the film's darkest moments. The punishment fits the action. He avoids responsibility, he loses humanity, he becomes something ruled by instinct. The film clearly states that shortcuts have consequences, especially when fear drives them. If we talk about Judy's role as emotional anchor, Judy often reacts before thinking, but she also believes without hesitation. She believes Ellen, she believes Sarah, she believes the danger. Her trust becomes the glue that holds the group together. Without her, fear would fragment them. If we talk about Sarah, courage is quite not lost. Sarah does not fight monsters or outrun animals. Her bravery lies in returning to the game meta. She willingly re-enters the sources of her trauma, something the film treats as a greater act of courage than physical survival. If we talk about when felt as felt, when felt does not adapt or grow, He agrees to ensure completion. He is fate in human form, unsensing, unavoidable. Alan can't reason with him because and failed to represent the consequences of running away. The if we talk about the importance of finishing, the film repeatedly stresses one rule: the game must be finished. If we talk about stopping halfway, guarantee destruction. This becomes the film's core philosophy. Unfinished silence grow more dangerous over time. If we talk about time reset without forgetting the ending reset, events not awareness. Alan and Sarah remember everything. This allows them to change the future without repeating. If we talk about effects you may not know, Robin Williams improvised many emotional reactions, not the jokes. Practical effects were prioritized to keep fear grounded for younger audience. The jungle drum sounds are designed to trigger anxiety intentionally. The board game is the game itself was built to feel ancient and hostile. Many scenes were filmed at night to enhance isolation. If we talk about why Jumanji feels darker than it looks, despite its family-friendly image, death is implied, trauma is central, consequences are permanent. The film trusts children to understand fear without suffering. If we talk about deepest message, if we talk about the deepest message, well, one is not about a magical game. It is about the cost of avoiding fear and the power of facing it together. Let's talk about more. The game does not create fear, it reveals it. Every threat in Jumanji matches a personal fear already inside the place. Alan fears disappointment in his father. The game isolates him. If we talk about Sarah fears being dismissed as crazy, the game destroys credibility. Peter fears responsibility, the game strips his humanity. Judy fears abandonment, the game constantly threatens separation. The jungle does not invent terror, It amplifies what already exists. This is why no two players experience the game the same way. If we talk about why the game targets children first, children are not chosen because they are weak, they are chosen because they are unfinished. The game fosters early accountability, immediate consequences, decisions without guidance. It accelerates emotional development brutally in this way. Jumanji behaves less like entertainment, more like a trial of maturity. If we talk about Alan's father as the unspoken catalyst, Alan's conflict with his father sets everything in motion. His fears of disappointing authority pushes him toward escape, and the game punishes escapes above all else. The jungle becomes a distorted reflection of his emotional pressure. Only when Alan accepts responsibility does the game allow release. If we talk about the house as a living memory, if we talk about the if we talk about Alan's father as the unspoken catalyst, Alan's conflict with his father sets everything in motion. His fear of disappointing authority pushes him toward escape, and the game punishes escape above all. As the jungle becomes a distorted reflection of his emotional pressure. Only when Alan accepts responsibility does the game allow relief. And if we talk about the house as a living memory, the parish mansion is more than a setting. It decays alongside Alan's absence. It revives when he returns. It becomes chaotic as the game resumes. The game visually tracks unresolved history, every broken window, and our game hallway reflects time abandoned, not past. And if we talk about why nature is the weapon, Jumanji does not use ghosts, demons, or magic creatures. It uses nature. Nature is indifferent, unstoppable, unemotional. The, this in reinforces the idea that consequences are not personal, they simply occur. The jungle doesn't hate the players, it overrules. If we talk about Peter's punishment is the same moral code. Peter's transformation is slow and humiliating. He doesn't die, he doesn't suffer dramatically, he loses identity. This is more frightening than violence. The film teaches that avoiding responsibility doesn't end danger, it strips humanity. If we talk about why Sarah's healing takes the longest, Sarah's trauma is psychological, not physical. She survives the game, but not society's disbelief. Her isolation is quieter, more realistic when she returns to Jumanji. She is confronting fear, shame, memory. Her courage is eternal, making it the hardest. If we talk about when felt as the inescapable past, when felt doesn't chase anyone else, only Ellen. This is crucial. He represents the unfinished past that follows you until confronted, running only strengthens pursuit, confrontation ends it. We talk about the reset is not a reward, it's responsibility. The ending doesn't erase consequences, it reassigns them. Alan and Sarah must now live with knowledge of what happens if they fail again. They are given a chance, not forgiveness. This makes the ending hopeful but heavy, while the film still feels uncomfortable because it refuses to soften its lesson. Fear ignored grows stronger, responsibility delayed grows destructive. Childhood trauma echo is forward. The film trusts the audience to handle these truths. Uh, if we talk about the final deepest meaning, Jumanji is about learning that life does not wait for readiness. The dice will roll, the consequences will come. The only choice is whether you face them or run. Finally, if we talk about final line, we read everything. You can't beat Jumanji by winning. You beat it by growing up. Let's talk about more. If we talk about the Jumanji punishes avoidance more than mistakes, one of the most important things the film shows is that mistakes are survivable, avoidance is not. If we talk about Alan's mistake is running away, the game tracks him. Sarah's mistake is silence. Fear controls her life. Peter's mistake is cheating, loss of identity. Judy's mistake is hesitation. Danger escalates The game never punishes curiosity or courage, it punishes refusal to engage. This is why finishing the game is mandatory. Walking away is the real failure. If we talk about time inside the game feels endless for a reason. Aliens here in the jungle are not shown in details. This absence is deliberate. The film allows the audience to imagine isolation, fear without witness, survival without language. By not showing it, the film preserves the psychological world. Aliens trauma is respected, not exploited. If we talk about Alan's adult body carries a child name. When Alan returns, he looks like an adult but behaves cautiously, even timid. He avoids eye contact, hesitates before decision, reacts defensively. The film visually communicates how trauma arrests emotional growth. It does not equal mat- maturity. Experience does. If, if we talk about why the game uses riddles, Jumanji never explain explain consequences clearly. It speaks in riddles because fear rarely arrives with instruction. The players must interpret danger under pressure, just like real life challenges. This uncertainty increases stress and causes instinctive decision making. If we talk about the town's destruction is controlled, not random. Despite how destruction follows pattern, roads flood, building collapse, authority fails. This shows how fragile systems are when faced with force they were never designed to handle. Civilization is revealed as thin and temporary. If we talk about the absence of villain is important, villain is important. Welfare is not evil, he is enforcement. There is no mastermind, no revenge motive, no hatred. This removes moral comfort. There is no one to blame. Consequences exist independently of intentions. Why nature feels hostile? Nature in Jumanji is not cruel, it is indifferent. If we talk about animals don't target villains, plants don't choose victims. This reinforces the idea that fear comes from lack of control, not malice. If we talk about If we talk about the role of sign in creating anxiety, drums appear before danger. This conditions fear, the sound becomes psychological, warning that sound is approaching long before it appears. The audience learns fear the same way. The characters do. Sarah's recovery is incomplete on purpose. Even at the end, Sarah is not fully healed. She is stronger, not untouched. The film avoids pretending trauma disappears. Healing is shown as movement forward, not erasure. If we talk about the recent timeline carried moral weight, the new timeline is not a fantasy. Ellen and Sarah intervene only because they understand how fragile life paths are. Knowledge becomes responsibility. They can't unsee what happens when fear wins. Why the film refuses a simple happy ending. Yes, the game ends, but awareness remains, but characters are changed permanently. This keeps the ending grounded, not magical. If we talk about the last quiet truth, Jumanji does not say be brave, it says you will be tested whether you want to be or not. The only choice is how you respond. If we talk about the final layer beneath all life is the game. Fear is the challenge, avoidance is the trap. Growth is the only escape. If we talk about the dice and symbol of responsibility, rolling the dice is never casual. Every roll represents acceptation of consequences. The moment a player rolls, they agree knowingly or not to face whatever follows. This is why hesitation before rolling feels so heavy. The dice are not random objects, they are contract. The film quietly suggests that adulthood begins the moment you accept outcomes you can't control. Why the game requires multiple players, Jumanji can't be completed alone. This is crucial. No single character has all the traits needed to survive. Courage without support fails, intelligence without trust collapses, strength without empathy becomes reckless, and the game enforces cooperation because isolation guarantees failure, survival is collective. If we talk about Alan's beard and appearance matter. When Alan returns, his appearance is rough, animal-like, and unrefined. This is not just survival imagery, it visually shows how long term fear strips away socially identity. Civilization requires safety to exist. Without it, people regress into instinctual behavior. Is transformation back into a composed human happens only after connection is restored. And if we talk about why the film used practical effects heavily, the animals feel real because they needed to feel dangerous. If we talk about the filmmakers, intentionally avoided making threats cartoonish. Fear had to feel physical, especially for younger audience. This size grounds the fantasy, preventing emotional detachment. The danger always feels close, never exaggerated. If we talk about authority, always feels in Jumanji. Police, adults, institutions, they either don't listen, don't believe, or don't survive. This places responsibility back onto the player. The film strips away external rescue to force eternal growth. And And if we talk about Sarah's voice is the most important sound. Sarah screams when no one believes her. She speaks quietly when she finally is believed. The film uses her voice to show how trauma reshapes expression being. She speaks quietly when she finally is believed. The film uses her voice to show how trauma reshapes expression. Being unheard is more damaging than danger itself. If you talk about why fear rise before the threat drums always come first. Fear is anticipatory. The films understand that dread is worse than impact by warning the audience before danger appears. It mirrors real anxiety, fear of what might happen. If we talk about the shepherd children represent choice without acid history. They are not burdened by past trauma. This allows them to act fast, adapt quicker, believes more easily, and the film contrasts learned fear through with unlearned courage. And if we talk about the jungle is not evil, it is honest. And the jungle doesn't deceive, it shows danger clearly, immediately, without manipulation. It contrasts society hide danger behind rules and expectation. This makes the jungle terrifying but truthful. Why when felt never speak once. When Paul does not debate, he hunts. This reinforces that consequences don't negotiate, they arise regardless of intentions, apology, or regret. If we talk about the game ends only, when truth is accepted, the final victory is not physical, it is emotional. Ellen accepts responsibility. Sarah confronts fear. The children commit to finishing. Truth ends the game, not strength. If we talk about the film's emotional bravery, Jumanji refuses to soften its ideas for comfort. It shows children facing death, adults who fear times stolen permanently. And if we talk about it, it never becomes cruel. It balances darkness with hope earned through growth. If we talk about the ultimate message beneath everything, you don't escape life's challenges by waiting. They don't disappear, they don't weaken, they wait. And if we talk about the final deepest line, Jumanji is not about a game that ruins lives. It's about fear that does until it's faced. we have now reached the absolute foundation of the film. If you want to, let's talk about more. If we talk about the silence between dice rolls, one of the most powerful tools in Jumanji is waiting. After each dice rolls, there is always a pause, a breath held, eyes locked on the board, fear before understanding. These pause matter more than the chaos that follows. They represent the moment before consequences arise, the exact space where courage or panic is chosen. The film understands that anticipation is more frightened than impact. Why? And if we talk about why the game never lets players learn the rules, Jumanji never becomes predictable. Just when players think they understand the pattern, the game escalates or shifts direction. This keeps the character emotional unstable, mirroring real life problems that don't become easier just because you have faced them before. And experience doesn't guarantee safety, only resilience. If we talk about the role of guilt in Alan's choice, Alan does not just want to finish the game, he wants to redeem lost time, fix broken futures, correct mistakes he never meant to make. This guilt drives him to risk himself repeatedly. His courage is fueled by responsibility, not heroism. The film portrays guilt as painful, but also motivating. Why the jungle invades the house? The jungle doesn't stay outside it. Break walls, floods rooms, destroys furniture. This is symbolic. The past can't be contained, ignored. Fear doesn't stay hidden. It pushes into daily life, disrupting safety and familiarity. The house becoming a jungle means there is no safe compartment for trauma. If we talk about the children's calm during chaos, Judy and Peter adapt faster than the adults. This is not because they are fearless, it's because they have not learned the annual yet. They accept reality as it is, not as it should be. This makes them emotionally flexible in a way adults are not. The film quietly suggests that rigidity, not fear, is the real weakness. Why, when Feld appears human, when Feld could have been a monster. Instead, he looks like a man. This makes him unsettling. He reflects how consequences often arise through ordinary looking forces, authority, system, inevitability, not obvious villains. He feels unavoidable because he feels real. The game's indifference is the cruelty. Jumanji does not react emotionally, it does not enjoy suffering, it does not show anger, it does not celebrate victory. This neutrality is what makes it frightening. There is no appeal to mercy, only compassion. If we talk about the reset timeline as emotional accountability, when time resets, Ellen and Sarah turned erase events, they prevent them. This shows that awareness brings obligation, knowing the outcome means you are now responsible for changing it. The film frames knowledge as weight, not freedom. And why the ending feels earned? The ending works because fear was comforted, trauma was acknowledged, responsibility was accepted, nothing is magically solved. The characters succeed because they grow, not because the game is generous. The film quite respects for children. Jumanji never treats children as incapable. They face death, make decisions, carry consequences. Uh, the film trusts younger viewer with difficult, which is why it leaves a lasting impact. If we talk about the last emotional truth, every character leaves the game changed, not stronger, but aware. Awareness is the film's final reward. If we talk about the final layer beneath all others, Jumanji 1995 is not about escaping danger. It's about learning that life doesn't stop rolling the dice. And maturity begins when you stop running from the role. Let's talk about more. If we talk about fears as a decision making speed, one subtle pattern in the film is how fear alters how fast characters act. Early in the story, characters hesitate, they debate, they look for permission. As the game progresses, decisions become faster, action becomes instinctive, doubt becomes dangerous. This evolution shows how repeated exposure to danger versus mental adaptations survival will not make people calmer. It makes them decisions. Why the game never allow preparation. Jumanji never gives time to prepare. Threats arise immediately after the roll. This eliminates planning and forces raw action. The film removes strategy to expose true characters, not reshaped bravery. Preparing is comfort. Jumanji removes comfort. The emotional difference between Alan and the children. Alan remember a world before fear, the children don't. This makes Alan mourn what's lost, while Judy and Peter focus on what's happening. The film contrasts nostalgia with presence, showing that memory can sometimes weaken survival. And if we talk about the game world as a living timeline, the world tracks progress easily as we move. Stakes rise, consequences escalates, the environment worsen, the mirrors emotional escalation. Problems don't stay static, they compound when unresolved. And if we talk about why chaos escalates, instead of repeats, no challenge is repeated. The game refuses familiarity. Each new threat removes comfort built from the previous one. This prevents emotional adaptation and keeps fear fresh. The film understands that unpredictability is more terrifying than intensity. And if we talk about the absence of rest, no one ever truly rests. Sleep is interrupted, safety is temporary, silence is suspicious. This constant exertion is intentional, fatigue lower emotional defense, making fear more honest and reaction more human. And if we talk about Alan's voice changes over time, at first defensive, quite uncertain. Later, steady, direct, responsible. The film used vocal confidence to show growth, not physically dominance. Why the game attracts the environment first. Before threatening people directly, Jumanji destroys surrounding. This destabilizes identity. When home becomes unsafe, people lose psychological grounding. The film attacks safety because survival to amplify fear. Uh, if we talk about the children's belief as strength, Judy and Peter never question whether the game is real. This immediate belief allows faster adoption, doubt waste time. Belief enables action. The film quietly rewards acceptance over skepticism. And if we talk about why no one wins alone, every major survival movement requires cooperation, rescue, defense, progress. The film repeatedly reinforces that independence has limits, survival becomes a shared burden. Mm, if we talk about the game's final test is emotional, not physical. The last challenge is not the most violent, it's the most commitment based. And finishing the games means choosing consequences or escape. Something every character struggled with earlier. If we talk about the unspoken cost of victory, even after winning, memories remain, awareness remains, responsibility remains, and the film does not erase psychological scars, it honors them. If we talk about the deepest behavioral truth, Jumanji reveals that fear does not disappear when faced. It becomes manageable. That distinctive is the film's emotional core. If we talk about the absolute final meaning, life is not fair. Challenges are not optional. Avoidance compounds damages. Growth is the only real victory. Let's talk about more. If we talk about every thread represents a human fear. Jumanji's dangers are not randomly monsters. Each one reflects a core human anxiety. Stampede, loss of control, massive emotional overhead, carnivorous plants being trapped by circumstance, underwhelmed, guilt that refused to let go. The jungle doesn't just attack body, it attacks mental stability. When felt aligns inner punishment. When felt does not exist independently, he only hunts around. He never targets the children alone. This Influenced Van Pelt represent Alan's self-blame for running away as a child. The gunshots are reminders of unfinished responsibility. The jungle gives guilt a physical form. And if we talk about why time stops inside the game, Ellen ages while the world freezes. This creates a cruel irony. He grows older emotionally, but the world refuses to acknowledge it. The film highlights how drama can age someone eternally, while love outside moves on unchanged. The house as reflections of mental decay. As the game progresses, floors break, walls collapse, rooms flood, the house mirror alarms, fractured identity. Repair only begins once he faces the game instead of avoiding it. If we talk about Judy and Peter, represent emotional balance. Judy, emotional intelligence, compassion, observation. Peter, impulsiveness, fear masking as courage, growth through responsibility. Together they form what Alan lacked as a child as support without judgment. Why the dice are the most dangerous object. The dice decide fate. Once rolled, there is no undo, no negotiation, no mercy. This symbolizes adulthood choices made without knowing the consequences. The game punishes cheating harshly. Every attempt to escape consequences backfires. The film reinforces a moral truth. Avoidance always creates worse outcomes. Why challenge is scarier than action? The most unsettling moments are not attacks, they are pause, quit before the roll. Waiting for consequences, listening instead of saying. If you talk about the film industry, anticipation is more powerful than spectacle. If we talk about Alan's final role is acceptance. When Alan's roles the finalize, no hesitations, no fear, no running. This moment is true victory. Not ending the game but choosing responsibility. Resetting time does not erase growth. The ending resets events but not identity. Alan is calmer, is kinder, listen more. Growth survives even when circumstance changes. And if we talk about why the film still works today, despite being fantasy, Jumanji speaks to anxiety, trauma, accountability, emotional maturity. It ages well because fear does not. One final unspoken truth. The game does not destroy people, it reveals them. Let's talk about more. If we talk about Jumanji is a test of emotional maturity. The game does not care about strength, age, or intelligence. It only responds to fear, guilt, responsibility, courage to continue. Those who panic suffer more. Those accept consequences survival longer. Why the jungle invades the real world? The jungle does not trap players inside it. It forces itself outward. This suggests you can't escape inner chaos. Suppressed fear always spills into real life. Jumanji acts like trauma breaking containment. And if we talk about Ellen's parents are not villains, absence is. They are wealthy, loving, but emotionally distant. Ellen's escape is not rebellion. It is emotional starvation. The film quietly criticizes success without presence, the board game as an ancient curse. Jumanji behaves like a mythic artifact. No origin explained, no creator revealed, no rules fully stated. This mirrors real life hardship. We rarely know why suffering begins, only how to endure it. The sound, if we talk about the sound design as psychological pressure, the drums are not background music, they are a countdown, a heartbeat, a reminder that delay increases danger. The sound creature urgency without visual, pure psychological tension. Why Ellen's bird matters? Ellen's bird weird is not just aging, it shows years without care, loss of identity, survival over self expression. Once he returns home, grooming becomes symbolic healing. The monkey scenes are intentional chows. The monkeys mock authority, imitate humor, destroy order playful. They represent the collapse of civilization when structure fails. Sarah's trauma is more realistic than Ellen's. Sarah survives the game briefly and is dismissed as insane. Her trauma is ignored, medicated, and invalidated. The film shows how society believes children's behavior dismissed adult psychological plate, the hunter's ascent and colonial symbolism. If we talk about when felt his style like a colonial hunter, this frames him as dominator of nature, enforcer of punishment, old world, old world violence chasing modern guilt. He belongs to the jungle, not civilization. Why the game chooses children? Childrens are honest with fear. Adults rationalize Danny and lie to themselves. The game feeds on Daniel. His adults provides more easily. The ending part is not happiness, it's closure. The final scene shows normalcy restored. But the term is quieter. This suggests peace is not excitement. Healing is subtle, survival leaves scars. If we talk about the film's darkest truth, Jumanji never promises survival. It only promises fairness. Why this film could not be made? the same way today. Modern films explain everything. Jumanji leaves questions unanswered, rules vague, fear unresolved. Mystery is what gives you power. If we talk about final thought for narration, some games don't want you to win, they want you to become someone who can finish. Let's talk about more. If we talk about Jumanji as a mirror of suppressed desire, every major threat aligns with something a character avoids. Alan avoids responsibility, Travis steals his childhood. Sarah avoids truth, society brands are unstable. The children avoids authority, chaos, overreach, order. The game does not attack randomly, it exposes orders. And if we talk about the size as a false sense of control, play roll the dice, but outcomes are never beneficial. Luck never favors comfort. Outcomes are never beneficial, luck never favors comfort. This teaches a brutal truth. Participants is voluntary, consequences are not. Time inside the game has no mercy. Ellen ages without milestone, no education, no relationships, no identity. This mirrors real life when people get stuck in fear. Time moves, growth does not. The house as a living witness and the Paris house ages, decays and floods. It represents memory eroding without care, family collapsing due to unresolved trauma. The house survives, but only barely, just like Alan. Why the animals never kill children on screen. Predators chase but hesitate. This suggests the game is not execution, it is endurance. Jumanji tests how long fear can be carried without surrender. The stampede scenes is about loss of direction. Animals run together with no leader. This is a metaphor for panic-driven society. Crowds reacting without thought. Fear multiplies faster than danger. And if we talk about the role of the police officer, he represents institutional reforms to charge authority that arise too late. Rules can't stop mythic problem. If we talk about the game's moral code is ruthless but consistent. Jumanji never cheats, it punishes hesitation, rewards persistence, ends only when faced fully. Unlike life, the game is honest. If we talk about Alan's final transformation is not victory. When Alan finishes the game, he doesn't celebrate, he looks relieved, not happy. This is not triumph, this is survival. If we talk about the reset, ending is a warning, not a gift. Time reset, but memories remains. This implies trauma shapes behavior even when events vanish. Healing requires remembrance, not erasure. If we talk about Jumanji's real genre, not fantasy, not family, not adventure, psychological survival, over discussed as a children's film. One line that defines the entire movie. You don't stop playing because you are scared. You are scared because you stop playing. Final reflections, voice hour ready, and some games chase you, some games changes you. Jumanji does earth and waits for you to roll again. Let's talk about more. If we talk about fear as a teacher, not a villain, every danger in Jumanji behaves like a lesson, not punishment. The line teaches Ellen that fear ignored grows stronger. The hunter teaches that running from consequences invites pursuit. The jungle teaches that chaos finds respect where structure collapses. The game does not hate the players, it educates them brutally. When pet is not inevitability, when pet never rushes, he never panics, he never doubts his aim, he represents unavoidable consequences. No matter how far Alan runs, the hunt continues. The mirror kills, quite patience and relentless. When Pelt does not want to kill Ellen, he wants Ellen to stop running. If we talk about why the game never attacks directly at first, threats escalates gradually. Sound before sight, warning before violence, time to choose courage or fear. This structure mimics anxiety itself. Fear announces itself long before it strikes. If we talk about if we talk about childhood trauma as the real jungle, The literal jungle is external, the emotional jungle is eternal. Alan's true improvement is not vines or animals, it is his father's disappointment, his fear of inadequacy, his beliefs that he is weak. Jumanji externalizes eternal bonds. If we talk about the game boards as a moral contract, once started, quieting is impossible, cheating is irrelevant, and help is limited. This mirrors adulthood. Life offers a restart button while you are inside it. If we talk about Sarah's breakdown, is the most honest moment. Sarah is labeled crazy because she tells the truth. Society prefers Daniel, and the film quickly criticizes how truth-tellers are punished when reality is uncomfortable. Why Alan returns as an adult, not a child. Time does not pause for fear. Alan's lost year symbolizes missed emotional development, stolen identity, childhood ending without consent. Jumanji does not steal youth, fear does. If we talk about the dice are loud for a reason. Every roll echoes, the sound forces attention. No quit avoidance, fear demands to be acknowledged. And if we talk about the children represent second chances, they enter the game without Alan's past trauma. Their courage shows fear learned early is harder to unlearn. Fear confronted early loses power. They finish what Alan began.